Hello, I'm going to try and briefly give you a little overview of something that's going to come in very handy for you when you're writing Android applications, and that's logging, logging and debugging. The tool that I want to show you is called Logcat, and I've got that open right now. Now I've just launched the stopwatch app. I thought this would be a good one to use as an example of logging, and you can see right here in the Logcat tab, um, I see a bunch of messages here. Now, there's a ton of messages that fly around, and you can get all sorts of information from it. But most of the data that you're going to see in here doesn't mean anything to you, so it can be pretty difficult to find what you're looking for. Um, what will happen is if you have an error somewhere and your app crashes, you'll want to come here to the Logcat and see if you can get any clues as to why it crashed. So you'll want to look for a line number somewhere. You'll want to start to look for something that looks familiar to you in your code, maybe. But it can be pretty tricky to debug Android applications, especially when you're just learning how. And I don't know why they make it so hard to find a line number of where the app actually crashed, but for some reason it's not always easy to find just to give you a line number that's even close to where the app crashed. Um, but I want to show you how you can actually create your own logs. So, and this comes in useful for all sorts of testing and debugging. So I've actually already got it. I'm gonna erase this and pretend that let me just make a few changes here real quick. So this is a stopwatch app, so this code should look a little bit familiar to you. And right here in the onCreate statement, right before run timer, I want to put a log message in here. So what we do is we're going to do log, that's the name of the class, and now you need to import this class too. And there's a couple of different log classes. The one that you want is going to be in the Android util package. So go ahead and do log d, that the method call is just d, and then you usually put the first parameter is what's called a tag, and by convention we usually just use the activity name, so I would put in the stopwatch activity here, and I can hear some of the other teachers in my hall talking, so hopefully that doesn't come through too much. So, and then you can put your message in as the second parameter. So right now I'm just going to put create is running. So since we're in the onCreate method, here you go. And so when I relaunch the app here, we'll see this message show up here in the logs. So this D stands for debug, and that's the one you probably want to use. There's different variations of this, like I for information and E for error if you want to log an error. But D is the one you usually want to use for your method name here. So this would work just the way I have things set up right now, but I want to show you what you usually do when you're setting up your logging is instead of hard coding this string here, because I may want to use this log D all over the place in my activity, and then I'd have to be duplicating this string everywhere. So what we commonly do is we just create a public static constant. So I'm going to bounce up here to the top of my class, just inside my class declaration. I'm going to create public static final string, and then equals stopwatch activity, and that should do it. Not sure what this is barking at me about. Unexpected token, I must have a syntax error. Oh, the name of it. So we'll just call it tag. By convention, that's what you usually call it. So I forgot to add my constant's name here. So instead of hard coding that everywhere I want to write a log message out, I'll just use my tag variable or constant instead. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and run my app here. Now I've already got a few other log messages showing up in here, so you might see some of those in the output as well, but just go ahead and launch this. And there should be a button to clear hit that button. So the trash can there in the Logcat clears all messages. So um, here's my emulator just firing up, hopefully. And I can see that something's happening here because my progress spinner is spinning over here, and then I want to use this emulator again. So here you go. We can already start to see some of the messages flying in here, and there's a lot of them. All right, so my emulator is now up and running, and if I look through the log file, there's quite a few messages here, and I can see here's my message right here. On create is running. So what I've done is I put you can put these log.ds all over the place, and it can actually really help you to know for sure that sometimes you don't know where an error occurs. So if worse comes to worse and I'm totally stuck, what I usually do is start putting logs all over the place, and then I determine like where the logs stop appearing, and that'll hopefully give me a clue as to where the error occurred. So now you can, I put this in the on create. I've also got a couple more in here in some of the other methods that we worked with in this chapter. Like here's one for on saved instance state. Some commented out code. I've got some logs there too. So this comes in really handy. So the other thing that I do want to show you is that you can filter out some of the other messages in here that kind of maybe cloud your, you know, just get in the way. And there's a couple of different ways you can do that here. So let's see. So if I go over here and I can clear all the filters. Now you can see by clearing the filters, there's a lot more stuff in here. This is actually kind of a good way to get familiar with what's going on in the operating system too, is to kind of poke through these. And this is funny, I'm looking through this now and I see that here's a Java error being thrown here. The errors are in red. So, but I'm not sure what this has to do with, but it doesn't have anything to do with my app. But now I think this is a line number right here. So it's really hard to tell your line numbers. I mean, they don't explicitly say what line they are, but usually I think after the colon. So you should be looking for a line number or some sort of message where the code kind of matches what you're trying to do. Like right here, it looks like there's some HTTP stuff happening here, which is trying to connect to the internet. So anyways, if you want to filter out this garbage, you can filter by the tag that you created. So if I go over here and go edit filter configuration, then I can now you can filter, there's a couple different options here, but this is the one I want to show you. So we use a tag of stopwatch activity. So after I do that and click OK, now this is going to filter out all the tags, all the log messages that use that tag. And in this case, we just have the one here. And actually, I had more in there, but those methods haven't fired yet, which is why we don't see those log messages. All right, I'll leave it at that.